Hello guys, today we are going to take a look at this Qingyi 1/28 scale RC excavator. I'm pretty sure this is a copy of a Volvo EC460 model that Uray used to make maybe 5 or 10 years ago. I think that was 132 scale. So I'm wondering if this model is actually made from the injection molding tool that Uray used to use. Maybe they sold the tool to another company and that company didn't have the rights to brand this as Volvo, so they just put this Qingyi Y something QY20 something on it and just called it 1/28 scale. Or maybe it's a completely different new model and it's 1/28 scale. That's what we're going to figure out in this video. So the first thing we need to do anyway is take it out of the box. So before we go any further, just to give you an idea of the packaging, this is cable tied into this part of it and it is pretty well in there. We'll see on the other model that it was pretty much just floating around. This controller is screwed to the cardboard here. This is cable tied in and it's not going anywhere. So this one was packaged okay. We'll see in the next video that the wheel loader one really wasn't. So I'll keep going with the packing. This was under the cardboard here. It's just the charger for the battery. Okay, we have it out of the box here, and as you would expect, it's pretty light. The undercarriage, not very realistic, as you would expect. This big section here is where the motors are going to be, to drive motors for the tracks, and we have a battery box there. But other than that, I suppose the detail isn't terrible. I mean, it was $50 for an RC excavator, so we're not exactly expecting it to be like Viking model level of detail, but for what it is, it's not too bad. The controller, of course, feels like there's absolutely nothing in it. It's extremely light. And I presume those are just simple switches. So before we go any further, let's just get an idea of the scale. So the track width on the real machine is 3470 millimeters. So if this is 1/28 scale, that should be 124 mil at the rear. And it's 127.8, so that's basically right. And just to be extra sure, the cab height is 3230 millimeters on the real machine, so at 1/28 scale that should be 115 millimeters. So that's about there. And that's about 126, so it's taller than the real machine should be. So it's roughly around 1/28 scale, but you would expect it not to be 100% accurate. Okay, so we figured out that it's at least 1/28 scale, or maybe a little larger. But when we compare it to our Volvo A40D, this is probably the only other piece of equipment I have that is really a quarry piece of equipment. I mean, you wouldn't be cleaning shucks with a 46-ton excavator around a farmer and like that. So this is a quarry piece of equipment, and this is only other real model of that same sort of application that I have. And this is supposed to be 132 scale. When you see them side by side, they're not actually terribly far off. I think you'd probably get away with using this on the diorama, but don't forget, this is already a large piece of equipment on a normal thing. What did we say that was? That was 3.5 meters wide, the real one of these. Like a motorway lane here is about 3.5 or 3.6 meters wide. That's a huge width. You wouldn't be driving down a normal country road with something like this. It'd take up both lanes. Well, here's a few other models beside it. These are all 132 scale. Our Mercedes Actros, Land Cruiser, and our Fendt 930. So you can obviously see that this is pretty big beside them. So you can kind of come to your own conclusion whether you think it would work on your 132 scale diorama. I don't think it's that far away as a starting point to try and learn how to control an excavator. It's probably a pretty good starting point for someone who's working in 132 scale. It's not perfect, but you're not going to find the perfect model, I don't think, for this. Like, this already has motors in it. You're not starting completely from scratch, and it's made to be RC, so you know there's a lot of starting points there that are going to help you when you convert it to a more smooth control with full control. At the minute, well, I haven't tested it yet, but I assume that this has only one motion, this boom, and we're going to add all three: raising, extending, and operating the bucket. So there's a bit of work to do on it. One thing I've just noticed here, it says 8 channels on the box, but there's only 6 controls on the controller. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's it. So how we have 8 controls, I'm not sure, and of course there's no instructions, so we're going to have to try and figure that out for ourselves. I assume this is going to be a 9-volt battery. Let's just open that up and confirm that. Yeah, so that's a 9-volt battery, no surprises there. We obviously have a rechargeable battery. It's around about 5 volts when it's a USB. Yeah, so we've one of these little 4 AA type battery packs. So that's nothing wrong with that. I think there was something similar in the Mercedes Actros, but we'll probably end up using this controller even when we, or this battery pack, even when we swap the electronics to our own. So there's no real need not to. It wouldn't really make sense to swap that out when we have a perfectly good battery pack and a charger available to keep it topped up. So why bother switching it out for a LiPo? Okay, well, I've put the battery in it. I'm sort of assuming that the battery that was in this was charged. My rechargeable battery is pretty much jammed in here. I don't think that's going in any further, or even coming out, so that might be the end of that battery. But anyway, let's see if we have any power. Now, I haven't turned this on yet, but I am assuming that it has sound. Although I don't see a place for a speaker. Ah, there, okay. There is a place for a speaker underneath there. You can't see it maybe for this battery box. And I'm expecting that this will sound like a Honda 100 maybe. Well, no indication that there's any power to it. No indicator lights or anything like that. No, oh, sorry. There's a disco going on in the cab, so there is power to the main model. That'll have to be got rid of, because why you would want to look at that, I don't know. So why have we no power here? So maybe this battery's not right. Oh, there we go. It seems like the switch mustn't have fully turned on. So what have we got here? We have tracks, but they're not very powerful. I guess the battery in the model is not very well charged. Seems to be struggling to do anything. So we might have to recharge that and come back. Yeah. Okay, I'll go charge that battery and we'll try this again. Okay, I have the batteries all charged up now. I just realised there's actually three functions on the on switch here. So there's on, and then there's on with no sound. So we'll just start with on with no sound just to check the functions. Our disco light is on, so that's a good sign. Our controller. There we go. Okay, so our battery's charged. The tracks have no problem moving the machine. So what's this? Well, it rotated about 90 degrees and now it seems to have stopped, so give it a bit of a persuasion. Well, I don't know what's happened there. Well, we seem to have lost our slewing ability. You can hear it clicking on a slip clutch there. I don't know, let's continue anyway. So that's what I was expecting, that the boom would move in a sort of a set motion. So there's obviously, well, I'm not sure if that was the slip clutch or if that was just the gear slipping. I wouldn't hold out a huge amount of faith in that actually pushing anything or really scooping anything of any weight, but we'll have to test it out and actually see. The tracks work fine, which is not all that surprising. I mean, they sound pretty noisy. It's just obviously cheap sort of well, RC toy motors and gearboxes, I'd imagine, so that would usually be noisy. If we wanted to quieten that down, we could just replace them with a few N20 motors. It should be a good bit stronger. So that's all the functions at the front here. So now we'll see what these switches do. In case you're wondering, that wasn't me doing that. When you push this button, it looks like it goes through some sort of a test routine. I don't know if I hold this other button down, does it do something? Oh, what's that? It made some sort of noise there. I don't know what it was though. Well, okay, that's all the functions. I'm not sure why the slewing stopped working, but I suppose we can look into that at some stage and try and figure it out. So let's just see what the sounds are like if we put this switch to on. So now it should be making noise as we push the controls. So I think that's pretty much the same good noise that the wheel loader was making. So you can hear there the air brakes, which are of course traditional on an excavator. Perfectly normal. And of course the air brakes on the boom work. Yep, that's just what you would expect from an excavator. So yeah, I think we'll forget about the noise. So that's it. The slewing, I don't know what's gone wrong there. I don't know if I broke something when I twisted it to the 180 degrees, but we can take it apart and have a look. But if that's the case, then it's pretty easily broken, I think. Okay, so hopefully that's given you an idea of the features of this model. We'll have to get it to the diorama, give you a real idea of the scale in relation to other things on the diorama, and we'll try and see what it can do in terms of digging, if it can actually lift anything or anything like that. But in order to do that, we're going to have to figure out what went wrong with the slewing. So I guess there'll be another video where we take it apart and see what's broken in here, or is something just loose. It's hard to tell. It feels like there's a good bit of play on that, which is not terribly surprising really. It's a hard joint to get right, I'd say, especially when there's going to be no bearings in this. Obviously it'll be just plastic on plastic. Other than the problem with the slew, it actually doesn't seem all that bad. Obviously the motors are very noisy, being, you know, they're going to be cheap plasticky gearbox things, so you would expect that. If you replace them with N20s, it'd be pretty silent. The detail is not terrible. It's obviously within the price range that it is. It's what you would expect, I guess. It's not shocking though. We'll have to, well, we'll test it out first, get a benchmark, the same as we done with the Mercedes Actros. Test it out, see what it can do in a stock form, and then we'll try and improve on that with our own electronics, adding LEDs, adding nice speed control rather than these buttons are just full on forward, reverse. There's no proportional control at all. So we'll add that with our electronics. So hopefully that's given you a good idea of what this RC excavator is like, and what we plan to do with it. And I hope you'll follow along as we convert this into, really, it's going to be a better model when we're finished with it. Thanks very much for watching, guys. If you liked the video, please hit the like button, and if you don't want to miss out on the next video, click the subscribe button below and get the bell on for notifications. A big thanks to all our patrons, sponsors, and you guys buying the PCBs for your own projects. That all helps to support the channel and keep the content coming. And speaking of content, there should be links on the screen now to a few more videos if you want to keep watching. And if you go to the channel homepage, you'll see that there are plenty of playlists there to check out. But that's all I have for today, so I'll see you in the next video.